She wants to be premier here at Queen's Park, and yet she has never been an MPP. We continue our conversations with each of the leadership candidates, and tonight we talk to Caroline Mulroney. She has an impressive resume. Harvard grad lawyer, worked in finance for the past 20 years, and yet her biggest Achilles heel may be her lack of experience here at Queen's Park. However, she says that's also an asset.
You're right, I don't have elected experience, and I've said, Kathleen Wynne has a lot of political experience, and that's what's gotten us into the mess that we're in today. I've come to this job with 20 years of private sector experience. I have the skills that we need at Queen's Park, somebody who understands how the economy works. I have a broad understanding of markets and the economy. I know what to do.
Give me a new policy. Tell me something new that you would offer that we haven't seen here at Queen's Park under the Liberal government.
Well, what we need right now is we need a leader who can do two things, who can get to work right away on fixing the mess that we're in, but can also provide Ontarians with a vision for something to believe in, a better Ontario. We have an economy that is rapidly changing because of technology, and the jobs that we have today will be different than the jobs we have in 10 years, that our children will be looking, that they will be going for in the job market. So we need to have a real conversation and look thoughtfully at what that job market's going to look like so that we can train students today for the jobs of tomorrow, and that's something that I will do as leader.
What is the biggest issue facing this province right now that you would tackle first?
So the first thing to tackle is affordability, and that means lowering hydro rates. It means putting more money back into people's pockets by lowering their taxes. It means by making sure that government gets out of their way so that they can make business decisions that they need to and grow their businesses and create jobs the way they want to.
What about healthcare? We're seeing overcrowded hospitals. We're seeing people that have nowhere to go. There's no long-term healthcare. 33,000 people are on a wait list for long-term care right now. How would you tackle that quickly?
That is a big issue. People spend more time on the wait list than they do in homes. And so it is a big issue as our population is aging and that demographic is getting bigger. It's something that we need to focus on right away. And you're right, hallway medicine, wait times in emergency rooms, it's gotten out of control. We need to focus on making sure that we are spending our healthcare dollars in the ways that we need to, not on administration, but on the front line.
Mulroney also says she would invest more in mental health. She won't say if she would continue the sell-off of Ontario Hydro. She says she needs to look at the contracts and study what the true costs are first. And coming up, we continue our conversation, and I ask her about the campaign in Frank magazine to deflower Caroline back when she was just 18 years old. We'll have more on that. Thanks, Roger. And we have more now on our ongoing conversation with Caroline Mulroney, the PC candidate who would like to be premier here at Queen's Park. Now, her father, former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, was in office from the time she was 9 to 19. So she's seen the good in politics, she tells me, but she's also seen the bad. You might remember she was the subject of a satirical campaign by Frank magazine to deflower Caroline. And we talk about that now, as well as the Me Too campaign. When you were, 17, 18, you were the subject of the Frank magazine campaign, satirical campaign, let's deflower Caroline Mulroney. How did that impact you?
That magazine wasn't really much of a magazine. Reporters did not have to sign their names, so it wasn't something that we ever really took seriously.
But that can't have been easy at that age.
It was not. It was, I was in high school. It was a very, it was disgusting at the time, and it still is. I have to believe that today it wouldn't happen again. And that is the thing. People are asking me, it's come back now years later. I have to believe that it wouldn't come up again, and that people wouldn't tolerate that kind of messaging. It was unacceptable.
How did that shape you, though, at the time, into the person you are today?
For me, at that time, my father was going through, was fighting a lot. He'd fought the '88 election on free trade, brought in the GST. So he brought in some measures that were not popular, but he did them because he thought they were right. So I was in that already, and this was just another example of some negativity that we had to deal with. It's unacceptable. I would not ever want that to happen to any other woman, any other girl. And if I'm elected, these are the kinds of things that I will stand for, make sure that they do not occur.
What do you think of the Me Too campaign right now? Do you think that it's going too far, and we'll talk about Patrick Brown in a moment, but there's this automatic believe the victim hashtag. Do you believe that we should automatically believe every woman who comes forward?
I believe that every woman should be encouraged to come forward if they have a complaint, and that those complaints and allegations need to be taken seriously. I think that we need to have the process in place where all the allegations can be evaluated and people feel like they can come forward. I think we need to go case by case, and that's what we should be able to expect as people coming forward with any kinds of complaints of wrongdoing.
Coming up, we talk about Patrick Brown and the party that turned. She says the party is in crisis. Caroline Mulroney took aim at her PC leadership rivals today, saying Doug Ford's on-the-fly promises will cost billion, and she made a jab at Christine Elliott for working for the Liberals as the patient advocate. And she's also calling out again for Patrick Brown to step aside while the allegations continue to swirl around him. We continue our conversation now with Caroline Mulroney about Patrick Brown, the man who brought her into provincial politics, and the party that took him down. Let's talk about Patrick Brown. He is the leader that brought you in as a star candidate, and now, even today, you held a news conference asking for him to step aside and asking the other leadership candidates to join you in that. There's some real irony here.
You know, he needs to step aside and clear his name outside of this leadership race. I think that's clear.
Do you think he's been given a fair shake, though? I mean, he was basically turfed out on allegations that have still yet to be proven.
I think that over the last few days, there's a lot of allegations that have come forward that he needs to address. And what I've said is that he needs to do that outside of this leadership race. We have 6 weeks to pick a new leader who can finally defeat Kathleen Wynne. Our party, the last time the PC party won an election was 19 years ago. It's been a generation that we've let the Liberals wreak havoc on this province. So we have an important opportunity, a critical opportunity, once in a generation now. After a whole generation, we need a leader who can defeat Kathleen Wynne.
It is not easy to have so many different opinions in one party, and an extreme difference of opinions. Where would you stand within that party, and how would you unite them? Because it's, I mean, as we've seen from him, it's not easy, and they can bring you down.
That's why you need to have the right leader. Our party stands for freedom.
Are you saying he was a bad leader?
What I'm saying is that going forward, we need to have the right leader who can unite the party.
How much of an influence will your father have if you become premier? Some people are saying actually Brian Mulroney would be the premier of Ontario, not Caroline, that he would be the puppet master.
I think he wouldn't want to hear that, because he's trying to retire a little bit and slow down and spend more time with my mother after many years of working very hard. Look, I talk to both of my parents on a regular basis, just like a lot of people are in constant contact with their parents. My father spent a lifetime in politics. He knows a lot about it, but he's done what he wanted to do for Canada. This is my campaign. These are my ideas.
Caroline Mulroney says she is against any new taxes and would not impose the carbon tax. She said she could find the $4 billion from it in lost revenue through savings. Now, you can watch our entire uncut interview on citynews.ca. Doug Ford, Christine Elliott, Patrick Brown, and Tanya Granick-Allen are also in the race.